Boxingego here. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon on the top of your screen to get notified when the latest new content drops. What up, fight world? It's your boy Ego and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button and also, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. I got a lot coming, so stay tuned for the latest and greatest. Follow me on social media if you guys want, at Boxingego. Now, Oscar de la Hoya has had a lot to say recently, and some of the stuff is very shocking, right? He posted on his official Facebook a letter saying how bad Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather would be and how much it would damage boxing. I'll talk about that in a little bit, but you guys seen the title of the video. He was at a charity event. I think Sugar Ray Leonard was there. They're fighting diabetes, a great cause, a great charity event. And there's some interviews conducted and some quotes from that event, and that was last night. And Oscar de la Hoya says that boxing is in good shape with the Canelo, Chavez Jr., Anthony Joshua, Klitschko, those types of fights. Boxing is still has a pulse and in a good spot. But one thing he said that was a little bit questionable, at least to me, and I tell you guys on my channel, I consider myself to be a realist. Like, you have to show me the facts and patterns and proof and stuff. But in this, he says that he believes, I do believe that Canelo versus Triple G, that fight will generate 3 million pay-per-view buys in September 16th. And I want to know from you guys what you think regarding that statement. Me personally, I don't think that. Now, I'm going to tell you like this. Boxing is in a good spot. And this is a great fight. You don't hear any complaints. I have never once criticized this fight. In fact, I said it should have happened last year. It didn't. Moving on. Can't cry over spilled milk. For whatever reason, Canelo vacated his belt, waited a little bit longer. Now we're here, right? So I have no beef with it. Everything else was in the past. The $15 million flat rate and vacating the belt. Cool. We're getting the fight. We have a date. HBO's on board. Golden Boy's on board. K2's on board. I have no problem with that. No beef with that whatsoever. But, and I do want the fight to be successful, because anything that's a good fight or good for the sport of boxing, I want it to be successful. You know what I mean? When people paying attention, and you want those events to deliver. In my personal opinion, I was in Vegas for the Canelo's last fight versus Chavez Jr., and it was lackluster. I was very disappointed, right? I knew Canelo had a strong chance to win, but I didn't think it would be like that. You know what I mean? We're super one-sided. Obviously, the weight and constant bad camps and stuff from Chavez Jr. eventually took his toll. Now he's getting robbed. Now, you know what I mean, no one's really even checking for Chavez Jr.'s next fight, really, that I've seen. And it's because of such a poor performance. And they really hyped it up as the Mexican Civil War and all this stuff. So although I want great events and meaningful fights to do well, I really don't see this fight doing 3 million. You got to look at the current landscape of boxing. Canelo Chavez Jr., I thought it had good marketing, good promotion behind it. HBO was on board. They did the Heritage special, the fight special. They did a face-off with HBO, right? And then the fight broke just over 1 million. You know what I mean? Whatever it was, 1.2, 1.4 million, we'll say, right? And although the Golovkin fight on paper is going to be a lot better fight, and it's a fight that's been brewing, so I do expect the numbers to be better than that. 3 million is a lot. You know what I mean? You got to look at it. Miguel Cotto, an established pay-per-view name, when he fought Canelo, right? That fight did under 1 million. So actually the Chavez Jr. fight, the way it was marketed and sold, that did better. And most people at the time, from what I've seen, and I've had a channel, a successful channel for years at this point, more people gave Miguel Cotto a shot, I would say, to beat Canelo than they did Chavez Jr. But yet and still, the date, the bad blood, and a little bit of trash talking from Chavez Jr., that pushed it over the edge. And then they really sold the fight, and it did better than the Cotto fight. So you got to look at it. We haven't really had even Floyd's last outings, aside from the Pacquiao fight, of course, but like the Berto fight, the Maidana fights, they didn't do over 1 million. You know what I mean? And if it wasn't well over 1 million, it was under 1 million. So Pacquiao's last fight with Vargas did like 350. So I think, one, the landscape of boxing is different now. The streaming, and to think that this is going to do over even what Floyd Mayweather Canelo did is a long shot to me, because that fight did like 2.1, 2.2 million But you got to look at the dynamic. People pay to see Floyd lose. Some people pay because they like Floyd, right? Canelo was a sizable threat. He was bigger, youthful. He had like 13 years younger than Floyd, so he had age on his side. He was powerful. Just beat Austin Trout and knocked him down, right? It's a African American versus a Hispanic Mexican fighter, and you know race sells. Race in boxing, when you know what I mean, when you're fighting, when you're scrapping. And more importantly, they were both undefeated at the time. We've since seen Canelo lose to Mayweather and arguably lose to Erislandy Lara, right? And if Golovkin was undefeated, well, he is undefeated, but if Canelo was undefeated along with Golovkin, maybe. But I just don't see it. Mayweather is clearly a bigger star than Golovkin. I'm not talking about dummies in the comment section who act like they support a fighter, but when the pay-per-views come out, they're nowhere to be found in those statistics. Like Golovkin's numbers pay-per-view wise have been a bust. They haven't really been, they flopped. I mean, it's good fights, you know what I mean? David Lemieux, that wasn't a bad fight. Well, the fight wasn't great, but I'm saying on paper, leading up to the fight, was a fight people wanted to see, and the numbers were poor. Did like 96 to 140,000 or whatnot. And the Daniel Jacobs versus Golovkin fight, that was a great fight. I was in New York. I covered that fight, and the numbers weren't too much better. You know what I mean? It was still under 200,000. So for this fight, Canelo is going to be pulling most of the weight from what I've seen, because and that's part of the whole argument with should Golovkin get a percentage or the 15 mil flat rate or whatever. You know what I mean? So between streaming and the fact that Golovkin hasn't established himself with million plus pay-per-views or very highly successful, high grossing pay-per-views on his own, then you really have one guy with bankable numbers. You know what I mean? Canelo has solid numbers on pay-per-view. He has 1 million plus with Chavez. He has close to 1 million with Cotto, and he has 2.2 million with Floyd. Plus, he has a couple of like 350, 375, 425,000 with the Angulos of the world, Erislandy Lara and stuff. So Canelo by far is the bigger star and has the better numbers, right? So for me, for a fight to do like that type of numbers, both guys have to bring that type of numbers to the table. You know what I mean? Even Ward Kovalev, if we're being honest, that was a great fight for boxing, and it did poorly in my eyes. It was a great fight. I covered that fight live. I was in Vegas for it, T-Mobile Arena, but the numbers weren't great. You know what I mean? It didn't even do like 300,000. So it's harder to score big, and to me, it's gonna have to be a fight like Floyd Mayweather versus Pacquiao. You know what I mean? Those are the types of fights, because Pacquiao has, even without Floyd, he has several million plus buys on his own. You know what I mean? Golovkin doesn't have that. And this is not, it has nothing to do with the quality of the fighter or who's in prime. It's just, these are facts, statistical facts. You can look at Pacquiao versus Bradley, 1, 2, and 3. Look at the numbers. Pacquiao versus Margarito, Pacquiao versus Shane Mosley, Pacquiao versus Cotto, Pacquiao versus De La Hoya. Look at those numbers, right? And then obviously we know Floyd's numbers. He holds the records, top 3 pay-per-view records and whatnot. So I don't see it doing 3 million. That just sounds too radical. I mean, I think if that is the goal, then I think they might be disappointed. But we'll see. Maybe it does turn out to do great. But I think 3 million. De La Hoya said something very similar when it came to Canelo Cotto, and it didn't even do 1 million. He said it was going to do these crazy numbers. So maybe he just sets the bar really high for himself, or maybe to put that in that bug in the ear for the fans. But I don't see it, and I want to know what you guys think. Will this fight do 3 million? Nonetheless, this is a great fight for boxing. This is what boxing needs, and it's a good fight. So I look forward to seeing the build-up and the 24/7 and the weigh-in and all that for this fight. I just think 3 million is very hard. And I said this before when De La Hoya was bashing the Mayweather versus Conor McGregor fight. To get crazy numbers, it requires casuals. You know what I mean? It's like there's only a certain amount of people that are dedicated, real hardcore, I'll spend my money, buy merchandise and buy pay-per-views type of fan base. So you have to get people throwing fight parties that don't always watch boxing, and, you know what I mean, more casual too, that don't know who Jared Swift Hurd is, or Gerald Washington, you know what I mean, some of the guys with smaller names in the sport. It requires that, right? That's just what it is. And I told you guys this before. I think Mayweather versus Conor McGregor really does have, especially depending on if the fight signed and how, as long as Floyd doesn't treat it like he treated the Pacquiao fight when he was like, oh, the fight's already made, so he didn't really do any trash talking. But if him and Conor are going at it, I think that fight literally has a shot to beat this fight. I'm not talking about what's the better fight or what's the more meaningful fight. Clearly Canelo versus Golovkin is more meaningful to boxing. I'm just talking about pure numbers, and the real reason is because the Conor fight with Floyd is a money fight that has two different disciplines, and I think that's why De La Hoya is hating on it, because you're bringing in these radical fan bases. So he's trying to congregate and form petitions and brainwash or tell people not to spend their hard-earned money, because he knows that Mayweather's going to rob the bank. You know what I mean? Conor's going to rob the bank with that fight, and casuals will want to spend for it. But unfortunately, there's however many billion people on this earth. They're not going to listen to one person. They're going to do what's in their hearts. You can't tell people what to do. You know what I mean? Like, for example, this weekend, Brook versus Spence comes on Showtime in the Sky. What if I, for some reason, had a grudge against that fight? And I mean, I'm not saying I have the biggest fan base, but you know what I mean? We're getting close to 100,000 on the YouTube channel. And let's say I go to that, I got like 60,000 plus on my Instagram, and I go to all of my social media sites and stuff, and I tell people, hey, don't watch that Brook Spence. You think they're gonna listen? And people respect my voice and my opinion. There's a lot of people who have been down with me since I had 500, 2,000 subscribers. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, people are gonna do what's in their hearts. They're not gonna be like, oh, Ego told me not to watch Brook Spence, so I'm not gonna do it. I'm not their parent. You know what I mean? So it doesn't make sense to me for De La Hoya to put himself on the canvas and come across as like a pure hater and try to cock block another fight, because at the end of the day, it's not gonna work. You know what I mean? If Conor, you'll do fucking none, if the you'll do fucking none army wants to watch the fight, they're not worried about a Facebook post. They're gonna spend out the money if they want. If Floyd's fans or people want to see Floyd lose, if they want to spend their money, then they're gonna do it. You know what I mean? There's nothing that any one person, and that's how you know if somebody's worried, because if you weren't worried, you wouldn't care what the next, like, I don't care what the next YouTube channel is doing, to be honest. You know what I mean? And that's not a shot at anybody particularly. It's just I don't care. I got my own stuff to worry about. I got my family to worry about, and I got myself to worry about. So you don't really care what people always send me videos and links. I don't really watch that, because if you're on the move and doing what you're supposed to be doing, you don't have as much time to look at all the people throwing shots at you, or all the people who are making a video and saying the opposite of what you did, or people writing articles. I don't have the time for all that. You know what I'm saying? And that's how you know that it seems like De La Hoya is worried. I don't know, maybe he has insight that the Floyd Mayweather fight is going to happen in the same month and hurt his views, so now he's pissed, so he's kind of lashing out. That's what I think it is. I heard that Floyd wants it in the fall, and I think De La Hoya realizes if he makes that fight not on the same day, well, on the same day would just be done for both fights, because you're going to have people split, you know what I mean? And people can't watch both, or no, I don't know who's going to want to pay $200 in one night, you know what I mean, for two different fights or whatever. But if Floyd fights Conor McGregor, let's say a week before that fight, that's going to hurt the views for Canelo Golovkin, even though it's the better of the fights for boxing. And that's simply because some people are going to spend the money for one. So let me know what you guys think. Will this fight do 3 million? I don't really see it. Let me know if you see it and how. Drop it in the comment section. Make sure you share the video, like the video as always. Hey, comment, and subscribe. Till next video, see you go send them. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button. And you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxingego, the future of boxing.